they told the guard to shoot me. I remember the way the sun hit his rifle, blinding, like God himself was watching. The barrel was pointed at my chest. The guard's finger was on the trigger. I could see the sweat dripping down his temple, mixing with the desert dust on his face. He pulled the trigger. Nothing. Click. He pulled it again, and again, and again. Click, click. The sound of that gun refusing to fire is the sound of a miracle. The sound of Jesus saying, "Not today, she's mine. But let me take you back to where this nightmare began. Because you need to understand the golden cage I was trapped in before you can understand why I was willing to die to escape it. My name means Lord Princess in Arabic, and I lived like one. Our palace, because that's what it was, let's be honest,
sat on the edge of Riyadh like a jewel in the sand. White marble everywhere. So much marble that when I walked barefoot through the halls at night, the cold would shoot up through my feet and settle somewhere deep in my chest. The chandeliers were Italian crystal. The rugs were Persian silk. My father owned oil wells. Plural. Wells that pumped black gold from the earth while I suffocated in luxury. Every morning, I woke up to the call to prayer echoing from the mosque near our compound. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. God is great. God is great. I would lie there in my bed, a bed so large and soft it felt like sleeping on a cloud, and I would whisper the words back. God is great. God is great. But I didn't feel it. I felt nothing. Have you ever had everything you could possibly want and still felt completely empty? Like there's a hole inside you so deep that no amount of money, no amount of beauty, no amount of perfection could ever fill it? That was my life. A beautiful, suffocating, empty life. My mother would come into my room smelling of expensive oud perfume and rosewater. She was elegant. Always elegant. Her abaya was never wrinkled. Her hijab was always perfectly pinned. Her smile was always controlled. Like she had practiced it in the mirror until it looked real. Habibdi, she would say. My beloved. Today we have guests. Wear the gold kaftan. And remember, smile, but not too much. Speak, but not too loud. Lower your eyes. Be perfect. Be perfect. Those 2 words were the prison bars of my cage. I was 22 years old, and I had never made a single decision for myself. Not one. My father decided what I wore, what I studied, who I spoke to, where I went. My brothers, 3 of them, all younger than me but somehow more powerful, they watched me like hawks. Making sure I didn't bring shame to the family name. Shame. That word ruled everything. I attended an all-girls university. I studied literature, classic Arabic poetry, Islamic texts, nothing that would make me think too much or question too deeply. I had friends, but they were just like me. Beautiful caged birds, fluttering around in our designer abayas, pretending we were happy. We would sit in coffee shops, the women's section, of course, separated by screens from the men, and we would laugh about trivial things. New makeup. New handbags. Upcoming weddings. But sometimes, late at night, one of them would text me something real. Do you ever feel like we're not really alive? Like we're just existing? I would stare at those messages and feel my throat tighten. Because yes, I felt exactly that way. But I could never say it out loud. You don't question your life in Saudi Arabia. You don't question your father. You don't question your faith. You don't question anything. You just obey. I prayed 5 times a day. I fasted during Ramadan until my stomach ached and my head pounded. I wore my abaya and hijab without complaint. I read the Quran in Arabic, letting the words flow over me like water that never quite soaked in. And I waited. I was waiting for my father to choose a husband for me. That's what girls like me did. We waited. We prepared our hope chests. We learned to cook and manage servants. We made ourselves beautiful and obedient and perfect. And then we waited for our fathers to decide who would own us next. I remember the day everything changed. It was a Thursday evening, the weekend in Saudi Arabia. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple that seemed almost violent in their beauty. I was in my room, sitting by the window, watching the light die. My father's voice boomed from downstairs. Come down. Now. His voice was always like that. Hard. Sharp. Like a blade you didn't see coming until it had already cut you. I adjusted my hijab and walked down the marble staircase, my hand trailing along the gold banister. My heart was beating fast, but I didn't know why. Not yet. He was sitting in his majlis, the formal sitting room where he conducted business and received guests. My mother was there too, sitting perfectly still, her hands folded in her lap. My brothers stood against the wall like guards. And there was another man. A stranger. Old, maybe 50, maybe older. His beard was dyed black, but I could see the gray roots. His thobe was pristine white. His eyes traveled over me like I was a piece of property he was considering purchasing. My stomach dropped. I knew what this was. Sit, my father said. I sat. This is Sheikh Abdullah. He has asked for your hand in marriage. I have accepted. Just like that. My life, handed over. Sold. Finished. I opened my mouth, but no sound came out. My mother wouldn't look at me. My brothers smiled slightly, like this was a victory. The Sheikh spoke. His voice was oily, smooth. You will be a good wife, inshallah. Obedient. I have been married before. 3 times. But you will be my youngest. My favorite, I'm sure. I felt vomit rising in my throat. That night, alone in my room, I broke. I fell to my knees on my prayer mat and I sobbed. I begged Allah to save me. I prostrated myself until my forehead was bruised. I prayed and prayed and prayed. Silence. The only sound was my own crying echoing off the marble walls of my golden cage. And somewhere deep inside me, a voice I had never heard before whispered, what if there's something more? What if there's someone who actually hears you? I didn't know then that the voice was leading me toward a man named Jesus. I didn't know that within 3 months, I would be standing in front of a firing squad. I didn't know that my gun would refuse to fire, and my life would never be the same. But that night, in that moment, something cracked open inside me. And I started searching for the truth. My father's name was Khalid bin Muhammad al-Rashid. In Saudi Arabia, a name like that carries weight. Power. Fear. His grandfather had been an advisor to the royal family. His father had built an oil empire. And my father? He had perfected the art of control. I need you to understand something about him. He wasn't a monster who screamed and raged. That would have been easier, somehow. Predictable. No, my father was cold. Calculated. His cruelty was quiet, surgical, deliberate. He was tall, with a beard he kept meticulously trimmed. His thobes were always pressed, always white, always perfect. He wore expensive cologne that smelled like leather and oud wood. When he walked into a room, conversation stopped. Men stood up. Women lowered their eyes. Including me. I had learned early, maybe 5 or 6 years old, that my father's love was conditional. It had requirements. A checklist I could never quite complete. Be beautiful, but not vain. Be educated, but not opinionated. Be seen, but not heard. Be perfect, but know you'll never be enough. Because I wasn't a son. I watched him with my brothers, how his eyes would light up when they entered a room. How he would laugh at their jokes, even the stupid ones. How he would take them to his office and teach them about business, about power, about being a man in our world. And then he would look at me. Just look. His eyes were dark, almost black, and empty. Like staring into a well that had no bottom. When he looked at me, I felt myself disappearing. Becoming smaller. Less significant. A problem to be managed. An asset to be traded. A daughter is a man's burden until he finds another man to carry her, he told my brothers once at dinner. I was sitting right there. He said it like I couldn't hear him. Like I didn't matter enough to feel pain. That's the kind of man my father was. The week after Sheikh Abdullah came to our house, the preparations began. My mother took me shopping in Riyadh's luxury district, the Kingdom Center, where the stores sold designer abayas with crystals and gold embroidery that cost more than some people earned in a year. Everything was behind tinted windows. Everything was private. The women's sections were like secret worlds, hidden away from male eyes. Try this one, my mother said, holding up a white abaya covered in pearls. For the wedding. My wedding. To a man 3 times my age. To a man who had divorced 3 women before me. To a man whose eyes had made my skin crawl. I don't want to marry him, Ummi, I whispered. My mother's hand froze. For just a second, I saw something flicker across her face. Was it sympathy? Understanding? But then it was gone, replaced by that practiced smile. Don't be foolish, she said quietly. Your father has made a good match. Sheikh Abdullah is wealthy. Respected. You will want for nothing. Except my own life, I said. The slap came so fast I didn't see it coming. Her hand connected with my cheek, not hard enough to leave a mark where others could see, but hard enough to remind me of my place. You will not speak like this, she hissed, glancing around to make sure no one had heard. You will not bring shame on this family. Do you understand what your father would do if he heard you talking this way? I understood. Oh, I understood perfectly. That night at dinner, my father made the official announcement to my brothers. We were sitting on the floor around the massive spread of food, kabsa rice with lamb, hummus, fresh bread, dates, Arabic coffee. The smell of cardamom filled the air. Your sister will be married in 3 months, my father said, tearing off a piece of bread. To Sheikh Abdullah. It is an excellent match. He has connections to the religious police, to government officials. This marriage will elevate our family's standing. My oldest brother, Faisal, nodded approvingly. Mabruk, Baba. Congratulations. You have chosen well. My middle brother, Samir, looked at me with something that might have been pity. But he said nothing. He never said anything. My youngest brother, Yazid, only 19 but already infected with our father's cruelty, he smiled. Finally. We've been waiting long enough for someone to take her off our hands. The table laughed. My father's lips curved slightly. Not quite a smile. More like satisfaction. I stared at my plate. The food looked like ash. Everything looked like ash. You are fortunate, my father said, looking directly at me for the first time. Sheikh Abdullah could have chosen a younger bride. A more beautiful one. But I convinced him of your value. Your education. Your family name. Do not disappoint me. His words hung in the air like a threat. Because that's what they were. If you're watching this and you've never lived under that kind of control, where every breath you take is monitored, where your entire existence depends on pleasing people who will never be pleased, then let me tell you, it's not living. It's surviving. It's drowning on dry land. Later that night, I did something I had never done before. I went into my father's study. It was forbidden, absolutely haram for me to be in there. That was his private space. His sanctuary. But I was desperate. Maybe if I could find something, anything, that would help me understand him, maybe I could change his mind. The room smelled like leather and old books and that cologne he always wore. His massive wooden desk dominated the space. Bookshelves lined the walls, religious texts, business journals, books about oil and economics and power. I opened his desk drawer with shaking hands. Papers. Business contracts. Nothing useful. I opened another drawer. And I found a photograph. It was old, faded. A young woman, maybe 16 or 17, wearing a simple dress and a shy smile. She was beautiful in a natural, unpolished way. And she was looking at the camera like she was looking at someone she loved. I flipped it over. Written in faded ink, Nadia, 1985. Before. Before what? What are you doing? I spun around. My father stood in the doorway. His face was perfectly calm. Perfectly still. That's how I knew I was in real trouble. I asked you a question, he said, stepping into the room and closing the door behind him. What are you doing in my private study? My mouth was dry. I wanted to talk to you. About the marriage. Please, Baba, You dare come into my private space? His voice was still quiet. Still controlled. That made it worse. You dare go through my personal belongings? I'm sorry, you just what? He crossed the room in 3 strides and snatched the photograph from my hand. His jaw clenched when he saw what I was holding. You have no right. No right to any of this. Who is she? I whispered. Wrong question. His hand shot out and grabbed my wrist, hard, so hard I felt the bones grinding together. His face was inches from mine now, and I could see something I had never seen before in his eyes. Rage. Pure, burning rage. You will marry Sheikh Abdullah, he said, his voice like gravel. You will be grateful. You will obey. And if you ever come into my study again, if you ever question my authority again, I will make you wish you had never been born. Do you understand me? Tears were streaming down my face. Please, Baba, I don't want to. I don't care what you want. He released my wrist and I stumbled backward. You are a woman. Your wants are irrelevant. Your feelings are irrelevant. You exist to serve your family's honor. That is all you exist for. He pointed to the door. Get out of my sight. I ran. I ran back to my room and I locked the door and I collapsed on the floor, clutching my wrist where his fingerprints were already turning into bruises. And in that moment, I realized something that changed everything. My father didn't just not love me. My father hated me. I don't know why. Maybe because I reminded him of someone, that woman in the photograph? Maybe because I was born female instead of male. Maybe because my very existence was an inconvenience to him. But the hate was real. It was palpable. It was absolute. And in 3 months, he was going to hand me over to another man just like him. Unless I found a way out. Unless I found someone, anyone, who could save me. That night, I did something I had never done before. I didn't pray facing Mecca. I didn't recite the prayers I had memorized since childhood. Instead, I looked up at the ceiling and I whispered into the darkness. If there is a God who actually loves me, if there is anyone out there who sees me as more than a burden, please, please, show me you're real. I didn't expect an answer. I didn't know that in the next few weeks, I would discover a book that was forbidden in my country. A book that would change everything. A book that would lead me to a man who died for me 2,000 years ago. And I didn't know that my father would find that book. And that he would try to kill me for reading it. The bruises on my wrist turned purple, then yellow, then faded to nothing. But the bruise on my soul? That stayed. I became obsessed with prayer after that night. Desperate, frantic, consuming prayer. If Allah was truly the most merciful, the most compassionate, if all those beautiful names we recited meant anything at all, then surely He would hear me. Surely He would save me. I prayed far before dawn, my forehead pressed against the prayer mat so hard it left marks on my skin. I whispered the words I had been taught since childhood, Allahu Akbar. Subhana Rabbiul Adhim. God is the greatest. Glory be to my Lord, the most great. But the words felt empty. Like speaking into a void that swallowed sound and gave nothing back. I prayed at noon, sneaking away from lunch with my mother and her friends, women who talked about jewelry and servants and whose daughter was marrying whom. I would lock myself in the bathroom, perform wudu until my hands were raw from washing, and I would beg. Please, Allah. Please don't make me marry him. Please give me a way out. Please hear me. Silence. Always silence. I prayed Asr in the afternoon, Maghrib at sunset, Isha at night. 5 times a day, every day, like clockwork. Like a machine programmed to perform rituals that meant nothing. Have you ever screamed into a pillow until your throat was raw? That's what praying felt like. Screaming and never getting an answer. The wedding preparations continued around me like I was already dead. My mother hired wedding planners, women in designer suits who came to our house with fabric samples and flower arrangements and seating charts. They talked about me like I wasn't there. The bride is quite fair-skinned. We should use gold tones, not silver. How tall is she? We need to know for the dress measurements. Does she have any preferences? My mother would laugh, that polite, controlled laugh. She's easy to please. Whatever we choose will be fine. Because my preferences didn't matter. Because I didn't matter. Sheikh Abdullah came to visit twice more. Each time, I had to sit across from him in our formal living room while my mother served Arabic coffee and dates. Each time, he would look at me with those calculating eyes, assessing me, measuring me, deciding if I was worth the price he was paying. "You are very quiet," he said during the second visit. I like that in a woman. My previous wives, they talked too much. Asked too many questions. But you understand your place, yes? I stared at my hands. Yes, I whispered. Good. Very good. You will give me sons, inshallah. Strong sons. That is what a man needs, a young, fertile wife who knows how to be obedient. I felt bile rising in my throat. After he left, I ran to the bathroom and vomited until there was nothing left inside me. At night, when everyone was asleep, I would sneak out onto my balcony, just a small private space overlooking our compound's garden. The night air was cooler, filled with the scent of jasmine and roses. I would look up at the stars and I would feel so small. So insignificant. So alone. I started reading the Quran more seriously. Not just reciting in Arabic without understanding, actually reading the translations, trying to find something that would give me hope. Something that would tell me I mattered. That my suffering meant something. That there was a way out. I read about paradise, Jannah, with its rivers of honey and milk, its beautiful gardens, its eternal peace. But every description was about what men would receive. The virgins waiting for them. The servants attending to them. The rewards for their faithfulness. What about women? What about me? I found verses that told me I was worth half of a man. That my testimony in court was worth half of a man's testimony. That men could marry up to 4 wives, but I could only have one husband. That my father and brothers and husband had authority over me, authority ordained by God Himself. I read about hellfire, Jahannam, and how most of its inhabitants would be women. Ungrateful women. Disobedient women. Women who didn't cover properly. Women who complained about their husbands. Was I headed there? For wanting my own life? For not wanting to be sold to an old man who collected wives like trophies? Fear was suffocating. I increased my fasting. Not just during Ramadan, but voluntary fasts every Monday and Thursday, like the Prophet supposedly did. Maybe if I was hungry enough, pious enough, perfect enough, maybe then Allah would hear me. My mother noticed. "You're getting too thin," she said, frowning at me during dinner. Sheikh Abdullah won't want a skeleton for a wife. Eat. But I couldn't eat. Food tasted like sand. Everything tasted like sand. One night, about 6 weeks before the wedding, I had a breakdown. I was alone in my room, reading Surah al-Baqarah, when I came across a verse that made my blood run cold. And if you fear that you will not deal justly with the orphan girls, then marry those that please you of other women, 2 or 3 or 4. But if you fear that you will not be just, then marry only one. I read it again. And again. This verse was about men marrying multiple women. About men having the right to choose who pleased them. About men having control over everything. Where was the verse that said I had a choice? Where was the verse that said my consent mattered? Where was the verse that said I was worth more than being property passed from my father to my husband? I threw the Quran across the room. I immediately gasped, horrified at what I had just done. That was haram, forbidden, blasphemous, unforgivable. I scrambled to pick it up, kissing it, pressing it to my forehead, begging for forgiveness. But something inside me had broken. I fell to my knees and I screamed, not words, just sound. Raw, guttural, primal sound. All the rage and fear and desperation I had been swallowing for 22 years came pouring out of me. Where are you? I screamed at the ceiling. Where are you? I've done everything. I pray, I fast, I obey, I cover myself, I follow every rule, every command, and you're silent. You don't hear me. You don't see me. You don't care. The room echoed with my voice. The marble walls threw my desperation back at me. I'm going to be given to a man who terrifies me. I'm going to spend the rest of my life as a prisoner. And you're supposed to be merciful. You're supposed to be compassionate. But where's the mercy? Where is it? I collapsed on the floor, sobbing so hard I couldn't breathe. Please, I whispered. Please. If you're real, if you care at all, show me. Give me a sign. Anything. Please. The silence was deafening. Listen to me carefully. I need you to understand what that silence does to a person. When you pour out your heart, when you beg with everything you have, when you offer up your pain and your fear and your desperation, and you get nothing back, it destroys you. It hollows you out. It makes you wonder if you're praying to an empty sky. If God is just a concept, a rule book, a system of control, but not a person who loves you. Not a father who cares. Not anyone who actually hears your voice. My friend Aisha texted me late one night, "Are you okay? You haven't been yourself lately." I stared at the message. How could I even begin to explain? I typed back, "Do you ever wonder if this is all there is? Marriage, children, serving our husbands, then death?" 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Finally, don't talk like that. Someone might see. She was right to be afraid. In our world, questions were dangerous. Doubt was dangerous. Even thinking the wrong thoughts could get you reported to the religious police, the mutaween, who patrolled the streets looking for violations of Islamic law. But I couldn't stop the questions. They were eating me alive. I started waking up in the middle of the night, drenched in sweat, my heart racing. Panic attacks, I guess, though I didn't know what to call them then. I would lie there in the darkness, listening to the sound of my own breathing, feeling like I was suffocating. "I'm dying," I would whisper. "I'm dying and nobody cares." Because that's what it felt like. Like some essential part of me, my soul, my spirit, whatever you want to call it, was withering away. Dying of thirst in a desert of rules and rituals and empty prayers. I performed tahajjud, the midnight prayer that's supposed to be the most powerful, the most likely to be answered. I would wake at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and pray in the darkness, tears streaming down my face. Please. 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 That was all I could say anymore. Just please. Because I didn't even know what to ask for. Escape? Death? A miracle? Anything. I just needed anything. But Allah stayed silent. And the wedding date got closer. And I started to believe that maybe this was my fate. My qadar. Written on my forehead before I was born. And there was nothing, no amount of prayer, no amount of obedience, no amount of suffering, that would change it. I was trapped. And my God couldn't hear me. Or worse, he could hear me, and he just didn't care. But then something happened that I never expected. Something that would crack open my world and let light into the darkness. My cousin Noura, who lived in Dubai and was more liberal, more modern, came to visit. And hidden in her suitcase, wrapped in clothing where no one would find it, was a book. A forbidden book. A book that was illegal in Saudi Arabia. A book that could get both of us killed if we were caught with it. The Bible. She smuggled it into my room late one night, looking terrified and exhilarated at the same time. "I don't know why," she whispered, pressing it into my hands. "But I felt like you needed this. Like, someone told me to give it to you." I stared at the small leather book. It was in Arabic, Al-Kitab al-Muqaddas. The Holy Book. "Are you insane?" I hissed. "If my father finds this." I know. But just read it. Just once. See what it says. She left before I could argue. And I stood there in my room, holding the most dangerous object I had ever touched. The book that would save my life. And almost get me killed. I hid the Bible under my mattress for 3 days before I had the courage to open it. Every time I walked into my room, I could feel it there, like a living thing, pulsing with danger. With possibility. I would lie in bed at night, knowing it was just inches beneath me, and my heart would race. Part terror. Part something else I couldn't name. Curiosity? Hunger? Hope? I had been taught my entire life that the Bible was corrupted, Tarif. That Christians and Jews had changed the original words of God to suit their own purposes. That it was filled with lies and blasphemy. That even touching it was haram, forbidden, dangerous to my soul. But Noura's words kept echoing in my mind. "Someone told me to give it to you." Who? Who told her? And why me? On the 4th night, I couldn't stand it anymore. I waited until the house was silent, until my father was in his study, my brothers were out with their friends, and my mother was watching Turkish dramas in her room. I locked my door, turned off the lights, and pulled the Bible out from its hiding place. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped it. I sat on the floor with my back against the bed, a small flashlight clutched in one hand. The leather cover felt warm in my palms. I opened it slowly, half expecting, I don't know, lightning to strike me? The pages to burn? Something terrible to happen. Instead, there was just paper. Thin, delicate paper covered in Arabic script. I didn't know where to start. The book was enormous, so much bigger than the Quran. It was divided into two parts, Lahd al-Qadim, the Old Testament, and Lahd al-Jadid, the New Testament. I flipped to somewhere in the middle of the New Testament, somewhere random, and my eyes landed on a passage. The Book of John, Chapter 8. I started reading. The story was about a woman, an adulteress, who was about to be stoned to death by religious leaders. They brought her to Jesus, testing him, asking if she should be executed according to the law of Moses. My breath caught in my throat. I knew what happened to adulteresses in my world. Death. Public execution. Family honor restored through blood. But Jesus didn't call for her death. Instead, he said something that made my hands freeze on the page. Let him who is without sin among you be the first to throw a stone at her. One by one, the men dropped their stones and walked away. And then Jesus, this Jesus I had been taught was just a prophet, not the Son of God, he looked at the woman and said, "Woman, where are they? Has no one condemned you?" "No one, Lord," she said. "Neither do I condemn you. Go, and from now on sin no more." I read it again. And again. And again. This Jesus, he didn't condemn her. He didn't stone her. He didn't call her worthless or shameful or deserving of death. He defended her. He saw her as a person, not as property. Not as a source of shame. He gave her mercy. Tears were streaming down my face before I even realized I was crying. When had I ever heard a story like this in my own religion? When had I ever heard of a man, especially a holy man, treating a woman with such compassion? Such respect? I kept reading, hungry now, desperate. I found the Sermon on the Mount in Matthew 5. Jesus was teaching, and he said, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be satisfied." My throat tightened. Blessed are those who mourn. Blessed are the meek. This was the opposite of everything I had been taught. In my world, the powerful were blessed. The wealthy were blessed. The men were blessed. But Jesus was saying that the broken, the hurting, the powerless, they were the ones God cared about most. Was I poor in spirit? Yes. God, yes. Was I mourning? Every single day. Did I hunger and thirst for righteousness, for truth, for something real? With every fiber of my being. Could these blessings be for me? I became addicted to that book. Every night, after everyone was asleep, I would lock my door and read by flashlight. I would stuff a towel under the door so no light would show in the hallway. I would read for hours, until my eyes burned and the call to far prayer began echoing from the mosque. Then I would hide the Bible, perform my ritual prayers like a good Muslim daughter, and go through the motions of my day, all while my mind was spinning with what I had read the night before. I read about Jesus healing the sick, feeding the hungry, touching the untouchable, lepers, prostitutes, tax collectors, people that society had rejected. I read about how he let women follow him, how he talked to them in public, which was scandalous, how he appeared first to a woman after his resurrection, trusting her to be the first witness, the first messenger. When had women ever been trusted with anything important in my world? I read the story of the Samaritan woman at the well in John 4. She had been married 5 times and was living with a man who wasn't her husband. She was an outcast, coming to draw water at noon when no one else would be there, avoiding the judgment of other women. But Jesus spoke to her. Not just spoke to her, he told her everything about herself. He saw her. He knew her. And he offered her living water, something that would satisfy the thirst in her soul forever. She asked him where people should worship, which mountain, which temple, which location was right. And Jesus said something that shattered everything I thought I knew about religion. Woman, believe me, the hour is coming when neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem will you worship the Father. But the hour is coming, and is now here, when the true worshippers will worship the Father in spirit and truth, for the Father is seeking such people to worship him. God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship in spirit and truth. In spirit and truth. Not in a specific direction. Not in a specific building. Not through specific rituals performed at specific times. But in spirit and truth. My mind was reeling. Everything I had ever known about worship was about external performance. Facing Mecca. Performing wudu correctly. Reciting prayers in Arabic even if I didn't understand them. Following rules. But Jesus was saying God wanted my heart. My spirit. My truth. Could that be possible? Could God actually care about what was inside me, not just what I looked like on the outside? I started noticing the differences between the Quran and the Bible. Things that disturbed me. Things I couldn't ignore. The Quran talked about Allah as master, judge, controller. We were his slaves, ABD. The relationship was one of submission, obedience, fear. But Jesus, he called God Father. Abba. A term of intimacy. Of closeness. Of love. The Quran had verses about punishing women, about men having authority over women, about women being tilled for men, like fields to be plowed. But Jesus elevated women. Spoke to them. Taught them. Defended them. Loved them. The Quran promised paradise for those who followed the rules perfectly, but who could do that? I certainly couldn't. I was always falling short, always imperfect, always guilty. But the Bible talked about grace. Mercy. Forgiveness that wasn't earned but freely given. I found a verse in Ephesians 2 that made me stop breathing. For by grace you have been saved through faith. And this is not your own doing, it is the gift of God, not a result of works, so that no one may boast. I couldn't speak. My throat had closed. My hands were frozen on the pages. He crossed the room in 3 strides and ripped the Bible out of my hands. He held it up, staring at the Arabic script on the cover. Al-Kitab al-Muqaddas. The Bible, he whispered. You have been reading the Bible. It wasn't a question. It was an accusation. A verdict. Baba, How long, he roared, and I flinched backward. How long have you had this filth in my house? How long have you been betraying Allah? Betraying me? I was just reading. Just reading? He threw the Bible across the room. It hit the wall and fell to the floor, pages crumpling. You were just reading the book of infidels? The corrupted lies of Christians? In my house? My mother was crying now, her hands shaking. How could you do this? How could you bring this shame on us? Faisal stepped forward, his face hard. She's an apostate. She's committed ridda. You know what the punishment is. Death. The punishment for apostasy, for leaving Islam, was death. My father's jaw clenched. He was staring at me like he was seeing me for the first time. Like I was something monstrous. Something unrecognizable. Who gave this to you? He demanded. I said nothing. I wouldn't betray Noura. Answer me. It doesn't matter, I whispered. It doesn't matter? He laughed, a terrible, hollow sound. My daughter has become a kafir, an infidel, and it doesn't matter? He turned to my mother. Call Sheikh Abdullah. Tell him the wedding is postponed. We have a situation to deal with. What are you going to do? My mother asked, her voice trembling. My father picked up the Bible from where it had fallen. He looked at it with pure hatred. Then he looked at me. We are going to burn this book, he said. And if she refuses to renounce this Christian poison, we will deal with her according to Islamic law. He grabbed my arm, the same wrist he had bruised weeks before, and dragged me out of my room. They took me to the courtyard. Our compound had a large central courtyard with a fountain, date palms, and a fire pit we used for outdoor gatherings. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and red that looked like judgment. My father threw me down onto the stone tiles. My knees hit the ground hard and I cried out in pain. Faisal brought wood and kindling. He built a fire in the pit, right there in the center of our beautiful courtyard. The flames crackled to life, hungry and eager. My father held up the Bible. This is what we do with lies, he said. We burn them. He threw the Bible into the fire. And something inside me snapped. No. I screamed, and I lunged toward the flames. Faisal grabbed me, holding me back. Are you insane? It's just a book. It's not just a book. I was sobbing, struggling against his grip. It's the truth. It's the truth and you can't see it. My father's eyes went wide. What did you just say? I stopped struggling. I looked him directly in the eyes, this man who had controlled every aspect of my life, who had sold me like property, who had never once told me I was loved. And I said the words that sealed my fate. Jesus is the truth. He's the way, the truth, and the life. And I believe in him. My mother gasped. Faisal released me like I was diseased. My father stared at me for a long moment. Then he said, very quietly, "You are no longer my daughter." He turned to Faisal. Lock her in her room. Board up the windows. She will stay there until we decide what to do with her. Baba, please. You are dead to me, he spat. You have chosen hell. And I will not watch my family be dragged down with you. They dragged me back to my room. Faisal shoved me inside and I heard him hammering boards over my window from the outside. The door locked with a heavy click. I was alone in the darkness. Alone with my choice. Alone with my fear. Alone with, what? Nothing? Had I just destroyed my life for a dream? For a book? For a Jesus who might not even be real? I collapsed on my bed and I did the only thing I could do. I prayed. But not to Allah. Not anymore. Jesus, I whispered into the darkness. Jesus, if you're real, if you really love me like that book said, I need you now. I need you to show me I didn't make a mistake. Please. Please don't leave me alone. And then it happened. The room began to fill with light. Not from any source I could identify. Not from a lamp or a window. Just light. Warm, golden, impossible light that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. I sat up, my heart racing. The temperature changed. The air became thick, not oppressive, but full. Full of presence. Full of something, someone, so powerful that every hair on my body stood up. And then I saw him. Jesus stood at the foot of my bed. Not in a dream this time. Not in a vision. He was there. As real as my own hands, as solid as the walls around me. He looked exactly like he had in my dream, but more. So much more. His face was radiant, not blinding, but glowing with a light that seemed to come from within. His eyes were liquid gold and endless compassion. His hair fell to his shoulders. He wore simple white robes that moved in a wind I couldn't feel. And he was smiling at me. Not a sad smile. Not a pitying smile. A smile of pure, absolute, overwhelming love. I fell off the bed and onto my knees, trembling so hard I thought I would shatter. I'm sorry, I sobbed. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know if I'm crazy, I don't. Shhhh. His voice was like honey and thunder. Be still, beloved. Be still and know that I am God. Beloved. He called me beloved. I looked up at him through my tears. Are you real? Please tell me you're real. He knelt down, just like in my dream, and he reached out and touched my face. His hand was warm, solid, real. I am more real than anything you have ever known, he said gently. I am the beginning and the end. I am the Alpha and Omega. I am the one who was, and is to come. And I have loved you since before the foundations of the world. But I'm nobody, I whispered. I'm worthless. My father said I'm dead to him. Your earthly father does not define you, Jesus said, and his voice was firm now. Your heavenly Father, your true Father, he knit you together in your mother's womb. He knows every hair on your head. He has counted every tear you have cried. And he sent me to save you, not just from your circumstances, but from death itself. From sin. From separation. I don't understand. You will, he said. But for now, just believe. Believe that I died for you. That I rose for you. That I am making all things new, including you. He stood, and he held out his hands. And that's when I saw them. The scars. Holes in his wrists where nails had been driven through. Healed, but still visible. Still there. I took your punishment, he said softly. I bore your shame. I carried your sin to the cross so that you could be free. So that you could be mine. Do you believe this? Did I believe it? I looked at those scars, proof of suffering, proof of sacrifice, proof of love, and something broke open inside my chest. Yes, I breathed. Yes, I believe. I believe you died for me. I believe you're the Son of God. I believe you love me. I believe. I believe everything. Jesus smiled, and it was like the sun coming up after the longest night. Then you are saved, he said. You are mine. You are a daughter of the Most High God. And nothing, not your father, not your family, not death itself, can snatch you out of my hand. But what do I do? I asked desperately. They're going to kill me. My Father. Trust me, Jesus said. When the fire comes, trust me. I will be with you. I will never leave you. I will never forsake you. The fire. Just like he said in my dream. What fire? But he was already fading, the light dimming. Wait. I reached out. Don't leave me. His voice echoed as he disappeared. I am always with you. Even to the end of the age. And then he was gone. The room was dark again. Normal again. But I was not normal. I would never be normal again. I touched my face where his hand had been. Still warm. He was real. Jesus was real. And I was his. Whatever came next, torture, death, fire, it didn't matter. Because I had met love himself. And love had called me beloved. They kept me locked in that room for 3 days. 3 days with no food. Only water that my mother slid under the door once a day, along with a note that said the same thing every time: renounce this madness. Save yourself. Save our family. But I couldn't. I wouldn't. Because I had seen him. I had touched him. I had heard his voice calling me beloved. How could I go back to the emptiness after tasting fullness? How could I return to darkness after seeing the light? I spent those 3 days praying, singing quietly, reading the verses I had memorized from the Bible before they burned it, talking to Jesus like he was sitting right there in the room with me. And he was. I could feel him. Even though I couldn't see him anymore, his presence surrounded me like a blanket. Like arms holding me. Like someone standing guard between me and the darkness. On the 3rd day, I heard voices outside my door. Loud voices. My father. My brothers. And others, men I didn't recognize. The lock clicked. The door opened. My father stood there with 4 men dressed in white thobes. Religious police. Mutaween. Their beards were long and their eyes were hard as stones. Come out, my father said. His voice was empty, dead, like he had already buried me in his heart. I stood on shaking legs and walked out of my room. The men surrounded me immediately, as if I might run, as if I might fight. But where would I go? And what would be the point? If Jesus wanted me to run, he would have opened a door. But he hadn't said run. He had said trust. So I would trust. They took me to the courtyard again. The same courtyard where they had burned the Bible 3 days before. But this time, there were more people. Many more. My entire extended family was there, aunts, uncles, cousins, all standing in a circle around the fire pit. Some were crying. Some looked angry. Some looked afraid. Sheikh Abdullah was there too, standing next to my father. His face was twisted with rage and disgust. "This is the woman you promised me?" he spat. "An apostate? A Christian? You have humiliated me. You have destroyed your family's honor." "I will restore our honor," my father said coldly. "Today." My mother was weeping in the corner, her face covered. But she said nothing. Did nothing. She had made her choice. They pushed me to the center of the circle, right in front of the fire pit. The flames were already burning, high, hot, hungry. One of the religious police stepped forward. He was older, with a white beard and eyes like black ice. "You are accused of apostasy," he announced to the crowd. "Of abandoning Islam for the false religion of Christianity. This is ridda, a crime punishable by death under Sharia law. But Allah is merciful. If you renounce this heresy, if you proclaim the Shahada and return to Islam, your life will be spared." He turned to me. "Speak the words, La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah. There is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. Speak these words, and you will live." The crowd waited. Silent. Watching. I looked at my father. His face was stone. I looked at my mother. She wouldn't meet my eyes. I looked at Sheikh Abdullah. He smiled, a cruel, satisfied smile, like he was enjoying my suffering. And then I looked up at the sky. The sun was setting again, bleeding red across the horizon. "Jesus," I whispered under my breath. "Give me strength." And I felt it. Like a hand on my shoulder. Like a voice in my spirit saying, "I am with you. Do not be afraid." I took a deep breath. And I spoke. "I will not renounce Jesus Christ," I said, my voice stronger than I expected. "He is the Son of God. He is the way, the truth, and the life. He died for my sins and rose from the dead. And I belong to him." Gasps rippled through the crowd. My mother's sobs grew louder. My father's face finally showed emotion. Rage. Pure, burning rage. "Then you have chosen death," the religious leader said. He nodded to my brothers. "Bring the evidence. Let us show her what happens to those who follow false gods." Faisal stepped forward. He was holding something wrapped in cloth. He unwrapped it. My heart stopped. It was another Bible. A different one, smaller, older. Where had they gotten it? "We found this in a Christian church we raided last month," the religious leader explained. Contraband. Evidence of heresy spreading in our land. He held it up to the crowd. This is what she worships. This is what she has chosen over the word of Allah. He walked toward me, holding the Bible. You will burn this book yourself, he said. You will throw it into the fire. And then you will renounce your heresy. This is your last chance. He shoved the Bible into my hands. I looked down at it. The leather was worn, the pages yellowed. Someone had loved this book. Read it. Treasured it. And now they wanted me to burn it. To burn the words of Jesus. The words that had saved me. The words that had shown me I was loved. No, I said quietly. What did you say? No. I looked up at him, clutching the Bible to my chest. I won't burn it. I won't deny him. Not even if you kill me. The religious leader's face turned red. Then you will burn with it. He grabbed my arm and tried to pry the Bible from my hands. We struggled. He was strong, but I held on with everything I had. Let go, he snarled. Never. He finally ripped it from my grasp and held it over the fire. If you will not burn it, then watch it burn. Watch your false god's words turn to ash. He dropped the Bible into the flames. I screamed, not in pain, but in anguish. Like watching something precious being destroyed. The crowd leaned forward, watching the fire consume the book. But then something happened. Something impossible. The Bible didn't burn. The flames surrounded it, licked at it, danced over the pages, but the book didn't catch fire. It just sat there in the middle of the inferno, completely untouched. Seconds passed. 5. 10. 15. The fire roared. The wood crackled. The heat was intense. But the Bible didn't burn. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Confused whispers. Shocked gasps. The religious leader stared at the fire pit, his face pale. What is this? My father stepped forward, grabbed a long stick, and tried to push the Bible deeper into the flames. It's not hot enough. Add more wood. My brothers threw more wood onto the fire. The flames grew higher, hotter, more intense. But still, the Bible sat there, perfect and whole, like the fire couldn't even touch it. It's a trick. Sheikh Abdullah shouted. Some kind of chemical treatment. It's not a trick, I said, and my voice rang out clear and strong. It's a miracle. Jesus is protecting his word. He's showing you that he's real. That he's more powerful than your fire. More powerful than your laws. More powerful than your hate. Silence, the religious leader roared. He turned to two guards standing at the edge of the courtyard, actual security guards my father had hired. Shoot her. Shoot her now. End this. The guards looked at each other, uncertain. I said shoot her. One of the guards, a young man, maybe 30, stepped forward. His hands were shaking as he raised his rifle and pointed it at me. Our eyes met. I saw fear in his face. Confusion. Maybe even doubt. I'm sorry, he whispered. Don't be, I said gently. Jesus loves you too. It's not too late for you. His finger moved to the trigger. Time slowed down. I closed my eyes. Jesus, into your hands. The guard pulled the trigger. Click. Nothing. He pulled it again. Click. And again. Click. 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 The gun wouldn't fire. The courtyard erupted in chaos. People were shouting, crying, backing away. Some were running toward the exits. Check the gun, my father screamed. Give it to someone else. The second guard took the rifle, examined it, aimed at the ground and pulled the trigger. Bang. The gun worked perfectly. Then he turned it toward me. Aimed. Pulled the trigger. Click. Nothing. The first guard took out his pistol. Aimed at me from 10 feet away. Click. 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 The guns refused to fire at me. They worked perfectly when aimed at anything else, the ground, the sky, the wall. But when pointed at me, silence. Just like in the dream Jesus had given me weeks ago. Just like he promised. It's him, someone in the crowd shouted. It's Isa. Jesus. He's protecting her. No, the religious leader was backing away, his face twisted in terror. This is sorcery. Black magic. I'm not doing anything, I said, stepping toward him. He stumbled backward. Jesus is doing this. He's showing you his power. He's giving you a chance to believe. To turn from your empty religion and find the God who actually loves you. Enough. My father grabbed a knife from his belt, a long, curved blade he used for ritual animal sacrifices. His face was purple with rage, with humiliation, with something that looked almost like madness. If the guns won't work, then I'll do it myself. He lunged toward me, the blade raised. I didn't move. Didn't run. I just closed my eyes and whispered, Jesus. I heard my father's footsteps. Heard his heavy breathing. Felt the wind as the blade came down. And then I heard him scream. I opened my eyes. My father was on his knees, the knife fallen from his hand. He was staring at something behind me, his eyes wide with absolute terror. What is that? He gasped. What is that? I turned around. And I saw him. Jesus stood behind me, visible to everyone this time. Towering. Glorious. Terrifying in his holiness. His eyes blazed like fire. His robes were white as snow. His face shone like the sun in its full strength. And his arms were around me. Protecting me. Shielding me. No one touches my daughter, his voice boomed across the courtyard like thunder. She is mine. Bought with my blood. Sealed by my spirit. And you will not harm her. The entire crowd fell to their faces, some in worship, some in terror. My father was sobbing, his face in the dirt. Forgive me. Forgive me. I didn't know. You did know, Jesus said, and his voice was both gentle and absolutely firm. You knew, and you chose to ignore. You chose power over truth. control over love, religion over relationship. He looked around at all of them, my family, the religious police, Sheikh Abdullah, all of them prostrate on the ground. I am who I am, Jesus declared. I am the way, the truth, and the life. And today you have witnessed my power. What you do with this knowledge is your choice. But know this, I love you. All of you. Even now. Even still. And my door is always open. Then he looked down at me, and his expression softened into infinite tenderness. Come, beloved, he said. It's time to go. Where? To freedom. To life. To everything I have prepared for you. He reached down and took my hand. And we walked, Jesus and I, right through the middle of that courtyard, past my weeping father, past my terrified brothers, past the shocked crowd. No one tried to stop us. No one even moved. They just watched as I walked away from that compound, from that golden cage, from that life of slavery and emptiness. I walked away holding the hand of God. And I never looked back. Jesus walked with me to the gates of the compound. His hand in mine was solid, warm, real, more real than anything I had ever touched. With each step, I felt chains breaking inside me. Chains I didn't even know I was wearing. Chains of fear, shame, worthlessness, control. They shattered and fell away with every breath. When we reached the main gate, the massive iron gate that had kept me imprisoned for 22 years, it swung open on its own. No one touched it. No guard came running. It just opened. Like creation itself was obeying him. We stepped outside onto the street. The night air hit my face and I gasped. How long had it been since I'd walked outside alone? Since I'd felt wind on my skin without supervision, without permission, without fear? Jesus stopped and turned to face me. The street was empty, quiet except for the distant sound of traffic and the call to Isha prayer echoing from a nearby mosque. This is where I must leave you, he said gently. Panic shot through me. No. No, please don't leave me. I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. Shoo. He cupped my face in his hands, just like he had in my room. I am not leaving you. I will never leave you. But you cannot see me with your eyes anymore, not yet. You must walk by faith now, not by sight. But how? How do I survive? My father will look for me. The police. Do you trust me? His eyes held mine. Did I trust him? After everything I had just seen? After the Bible that wouldn't burn, the guns that wouldn't fire, the miracle that had saved my life? Yes, I whispered. Yes, I trust you. Then walk. Walk north. You will know where to go. I will send people to help you. My people. Watch for them. They will have my mark on them, you'll recognize them by their love. Where am I going? He smiled. To freedom. To your new life. To the purpose I created you for. He leaned forward and kissed my forehead. You are going to tell this story, beloved. You are going to tell thousands, millions, what I did for you. You are going to set other captives free. This is only the beginning. And then he was gone. Not fading this time. Just gone. One moment he was there, the next I was standing alone on a dark street in Riyadh, wearing the clothes I'd been wearing for 3 days, with no money, no phone, no identification, no plan. Just faith. And a direction, north. So I started walking. I walked for hours through the streets of Riyadh. My feet were bare, they had taken my shoes when they locked me up. The pavement was rough and hot, even at night. Every step hurt. But I kept walking. North. Always north. I passed shopping centers and restaurants, mosques and government buildings. I saw families walking together, couples in cafes, men in their expensive cars. Normal life. Life I would never be part of again. I was a fugitive now. An apostate. If caught, I would be executed. But I wasn't afraid. That's the strange thing, I should have been terrified. But I felt held. Protected. Like invisible arms were around me, like angels were walking beside me even though I couldn't see them. Around midnight, I found myself in a less wealthy area of the city. The buildings were older, more rundown. Fewer cameras. Fewer police. I was exhausted, dizzy with hunger and thirst. I sat down in an alley behind a closed shop, my back against the wall, and I closed my eyes. Jesus, I whispered. I need help. Please. Excuse me. I jerked awake. A woman stood at the entrance to the alley, maybe 50 years old, wearing a simple black abaya. But her face, there was something different about her face. It was kind. Gentle. And her eyes, they held something I recognized. Peace. Are you all right? She asked in Arabic. I didn't know how to answer. Was I all right? I was homeless, hunted, alone in the middle of the night. But I was also free. I was also his. I don't know, I said honestly. She came closer, studying me. Then she said something that made my heart stop. You've met him, haven't you? You've met Jesus. I stared at her. How did you? I can see it on you, she said, smiling. The light. The peace. Even in your exhaustion, you carry his presence. She held out her hand. My name is Miriam. I'm a follower of Jesus too. A secret believer. And he sent me to find you. I took her hand and started crying. He told me he would send help. He told me to watch for his people. Come, she said. My house isn't far. You can rest there. Eat. Clean up. And then we'll figure out what to do next. Miriam's house was small, hidden in a maze of narrow streets in one of Riyadh's oldest neighborhoods. Inside, it was simple but warm. Clean. Safe. She gave me food, dates, bread, hummus, water. I ate like I was starving, because I was. She brought me clean clothes, showed me where I could wash. When I came out, there was a man sitting in the living room. He was older, with gray in his beard, wearing traditional Saudi clothing. I froze, terrified. It's all right, Miriam said quickly. This is my husband, Ibrahim. He's one of us. A believer. Ibrahim stood and placed his hand over his heart. Peace be with you, sister. Any sister in Christ is family. I almost collapsed with relief. They told me their story over tea. How they had both been Muslims, devout, practicing, committed. How they had separately encountered Jesus in dreams and visions. How they had found each other, married in secret, and had been living as underground Christians in Saudi Arabia for 15 years. There are more of us than you think, Ibrahim said. House churches. Secret meetings. Believers scattered across the kingdom. We live in the shadows, but we live. And we help each other. Your story is already spreading, Miriam added. What happened at your father's compound, the Bible that wouldn't burn, the guns that wouldn't fire, people are talking about it. Some are saying it's sorcery. But others are asking questions. Seeking. Wondering if maybe Jesus is who he says he is. My father will look for me, I said. He'll have connections. Money. Power. He will, Ibrahim agreed. Which is why you cannot stay in Riyadh. We need to get you out of Saudi Arabia. How? I don't have a passport. I don't have. We have networks, he said. Underground railroads, you might call them. Christians and sympathizers who help get believers to safety. Jordan first, then possibly Europe or America. But it's dangerous. Very dangerous. You'll be traveling hidden, in secret. If you're caught. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. I'll do it, I said. Whatever it takes. You'll leave tomorrow night, Miriam said. But tonight, you rest. You're safe here. For the first time in days, maybe for the first time in my life, I felt truly safe. The next evening, as the sun was setting, a man arrived at the house. He was Filipino, a migrant worker, one of the millions who worked in Saudi Arabia. His name was Carlos, and he had kind eyes and a nervous smile. I'll be driving you, he said. Hidden in the back of my delivery truck. We cross the border into Jordan twice a week for work. Tomorrow is a delivery day. Won't they search the truck? They do random searches, he admitted. But God has protected us before. He'll protect us again. That night, Miriam gave me a backpack with supplies, water, food, some money, a change of clothes. And something else. A Bible. Small, Arabic, worn from use. This was mine, she said. When I first believed. I want you to have it. I held it like the treasure it was. Thank you. For everything. For risking your lives for me. You would do the same, Ibrahim said. That's what family does. They prayed over me, hands on my shoulders, tears on their faces. They prayed for protection, for courage, for God's hand to guide me. They prayed that my story would bring many to Jesus. And I felt it again, that presence. That warmth. Jesus, right there in that small living room, blessing their prayers, covering me with his grace. The journey to the border was the longest night of my life. I was hidden in a secret compartment Carlos had built into his delivery truck, a space between the cargo and the back wall, barely big enough for me to lie down. It was dark, cramped, suffocating. But I wasn't alone. Jesus, I whispered in the darkness. You said you'd never leave me. I'm holding you to that promise. And I felt it, his presence. Like someone lying there in the darkness with me, breathing when I breathed, calm when I was afraid. We stopped at the border crossing around 2 a.m. I heard voices. Guards. Footsteps around the truck. Open the back. My heart was pounding so loud I was sure they could hear it. The truck doors opened. Flashlights. The sounds of cargo being moved around. What are you transporting? Electronic parts, Carlos said. His voice was steady, calm. For a factory in Amman. Here are my documents. Silence. Papers rustling. More footsteps. A flashlight beam swept across the wall behind which I was hiding. Jesus, I breathed. Please. Everything looks fine, the guard said. Go ahead. The doors slammed shut. The truck started moving again. I was across the border. Out of Saudi Arabia. Free. I pressed my hand over my mouth to keep from sobbing out loud. Carlos drove me to a safe house in Amman, Jordan. It was run by a missionary couple, an American man and his Jordanian wife. They welcomed me with open arms, with tears, with joy. You're the fourth person we've helped escape this month, the wife told me. And every story is a miracle. Every single one. They helped me apply for refugee status. Connected me with organizations that helped persecuted Christians. Within 3 months, I had asylum in the United States. But before I left Jordan, I did something I needed to do. I went to a church, a real church, with a cross on the wall and believers singing praises to Jesus openly, without fear. I walked down the aisle and I knelt at the altar. And I was baptized. They submerged me in water, dying to my old life, my old identity, my old slavery. And when I came up, gasping and crying and laughing all at once, I was new. Born again. A daughter of the King. I lost everything, you understand. My family disowned me. My name was erased from family records. My mother's last message to me, sent through intermediaries, was simple, you are dead to us. I lost my country. My culture. My language, because now I speak English more than Arabic. I lost my inheritance. My security. My privilege. I lost everything I had. And I gained everything I needed. I gained a father who loves me unconditionally. Brothers and sisters all over the world. A purpose. A calling. A story that sets captives free. I gained Jesus. And he is worth it all. Every single loss. I've been living in America for 3 years now. 3 years of freedom I still don't take for granted. 3 years of waking up in the morning and choosing what to wear, where to go, what to believe, without fear, without permission, without chains. Some days it still doesn't feel real. I live in a small apartment in a city I won't name for security reasons. My life is simple now, not wealthy like before, but rich in ways that matter. I work at a coffee shop during the day. I attend a local church where people know my story and pray for me regularly. I've made friends, real friends, the kind who know the worst parts of you and love you anyway. And I tell my story. That's what I do. That's what Jesus called me to do that night when He walked me out of my Father's compound. I speak at churches, at conferences, at small group meetings. I talk to Muslims who are curious about Jesus. I mentor other women who have escaped persecution. I record videos like this one. Because my story isn't really about me. It's about Him. It's about a God who saw a broken girl trapped in a golden cage and said, "She's mine. I'm going to save her." It's about a Savior who died on a cross 2,000 years ago so that I could be free today. It's about love that pursues, love that protects, love that never ever gives up. My life isn't perfect here. Don't misunderstand me. I still have nightmares sometimes. I wake up in the middle of the night thinking I'm back in that locked room, hearing my father's footsteps in the hallway, feeling the terror of those 3 days. I struggle with loneliness. Do you know what it's like to celebrate Christmas or Easter or your birthday with no family? To scroll through social media and see your friends from Saudi Arabia getting married, having children, living the lives you were supposed to live? Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I had just said the words. If I had just recited the Shahada, burned the Bible myself, married Sheikh Abdullah. I would still have my family, my country, my culture. But I wouldn't have Jesus. And without Him, I wasn't really living anyway. I was just existing, surviving, drowning on dry land. Now I'm alive. Fully, completely, abundantly alive. I wake up in the morning and I talk to Jesus like He's sitting at my breakfast table. Because He is. I read my Bible, the one Miriam gave me, worn now from constant use, and the words jump off the page like they're written specifically for me. Because they are. I worship in church and tears stream down my face because I remember when worship was empty ritual, when prayer was shouting into the void. But now I'm singing to someone who actually hears me. Someone who actually loves me. I serve at a local refugee center, helping other women who have escaped persecution. I hold their hands when they're afraid. I pray with them when they're hopeless. I tell them, Jesus sees you. He knows your name. And He has a plan for your life. And I watch their faces transform, just like mine did, when they realize they're not alone anymore. That's the life Jesus gave me. Not comfortable. Not easy. But purposeful. Meaningful. Full. I want to tell you something important. Something I need you to hear. If you're watching this video and you're Muslim, maybe you grew up like me, praying 5 times a day, fasting, trying so hard to be good enough. I want you to know, you will never be good enough. I don't say that to hurt you. I say it because it's true. The standard is perfection. And none of us can reach it. I couldn't. You can't. No one can. That's why we need a Savior. That's why Jesus came, not to give us more rules, not to make us work harder, but to do for us what we could never do for ourselves. He lived the perfect life we couldn't live. He died the death we deserved. He rose from the grave to prove that death doesn't have the final word. And now He offers us something incredible, relationship, not religion. Grace, not guilt. Love, not law. You don't have to earn it. You can't earn it. You just have to receive it. Allah may feel distant, silent, unreachable. Trust me, I know. I spent 22 years trying to reach him and getting nothing but silence. But Jesus? Jesus reaches for you. He pursues you. He calls you by name. He did it for me. He'll do it for you. Maybe you're watching this and you're not Muslim. Maybe you're an atheist, an agnostic, someone who's been hurt by religion. Maybe you think all this talk about Jesus and miracles and supernatural encounters is just fairy tales. Just wishful thinking. I understand. I do. But I'm telling you what I saw with my own eyes. What I experienced with my own hands. What changed my entire life. The Bible that wouldn't burn. The guns that wouldn't fire. Jesus standing in my room, calling me beloved. These things happened. They're not metaphors. They're not symbolic stories. They're reality. And if Jesus did it for me, a nobody from Saudi Arabia, a girl who felt worthless and hopeless and trapped, he can do it for you too. Whatever cage you're in, addiction, depression, abuse, emptiness, guilt, shame, Jesus has the key. He's been holding it the whole time. He's just waiting for you to ask him to open the door. And maybe you're watching this and you're already a Christian. Maybe you've been following Jesus for years. You go to church, you read your Bible, you pray. But somewhere along the way, it became routine. Comfortable. Safe. Let me tell you something, following Jesus is not safe. It cost me everything. My family. My country. My old life. Everything. But I would do it again in a heartbeat. 1,000 times over. Because knowing him, really knowing him, not just knowing about him, is worth any price. Don't settle for comfortable Christianity. Don't settle for religion without relationship. Don't settle for going through the motions while your heart stays asleep. Jesus didn't die on a cross so you could have a nice, safe, boring life. He died so you could be free. So you could be alive. So you could experience love and joy and purpose that shake you to your core. If your faith has become lukewarm, if you're just coasting, if you've forgotten what it feels like to be desperate for Jesus, I'm begging you, wake up. Stir up that fire again. Remember your first love. Because he hasn't forgotten you. He's still there, waiting, calling, pursuing. I want to pray with you now. If you're watching this and you want what I have, if you want to know Jesus, if you want to experience his love, if you want to be free, I'm going to lead you in a prayer. It doesn't have to be these exact words. Jesus doesn't care about perfect language. He cares about honest hearts. But if you mean it, if you really mean it, your life will never be the same. I'm serious. This isn't a small decision. This isn't just adding Jesus to your life like another item on a checklist. This is surrender. This is laying down everything you are and everything you have and saying, Jesus, I'm yours. All of me. No matter what it costs. Are you ready? If you are, pray with me now. Out loud if you can. In your heart if you can't. But mean it. Mean every word. Jesus, I need you. I've been trying to do life on my own, and I can't. I've been trying to be good enough, and I'm not. I've been carrying guilt and shame and fear, and I can't carry it anymore. I believe you are who you say you are. the Son of God, the Savior of the world, the way, the truth, and the life. I believe you died on the cross for my sins, that you took my punishment, that you rose from the dead and you're alive right now. I'm sorry for my sins, for the ways I've lived without you, ignored you, rejected you. I turn away from that old life now. Jesus, I give you my life. All of it. The good parts and the broken parts. The past and the future. Everything. Come into my heart. Make me new. Fill me with your Spirit. Teach me to follow you. I may lose everything. I may face persecution or rejection or suffering. But you are worth it. You are worth everything. Thank you for loving me. Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for calling me beloved. I'm yours now. Forever. In Jesus' name, amen. If you just prayed that prayer, if you meant it, you are saved. You are a child of God now. A new creation. Born again. The angels in heaven are celebrating. Jesus is rejoicing over you. The Holy Spirit has sealed you, marked you as His own. Welcome to the family. Now listen carefully, because this is important. You need to tell someone. Don't keep this secret. Find a church, a Bible-believing, Jesus-loving church, and tell them what just happened. You need community. You need brothers and sisters who will walk with you, teach you, pray for you. Get a Bible and start reading it. I recommend starting with the Gospel of John. Read about Jesus. Learn His voice. Fall in love with Him. Pray every day. Not ritual prayers, just talk to Him. Like He's your friend. Your Father. Because He is. And be prepared. Life might get harder before it gets easier. Jesus never promised comfort. He promised His presence. He promised that He would never leave you. He promised that nothing could separate you from His love. Hold on to those promises when things get dark. When people reject you. When your family doesn't understand. When the world tells you you're crazy. Remember, you've been bought with a price. You belong to the King of Kings. And His plans for you are bigger and better than anything you could imagine. My father tried to contact me once, about a year ago. A message came through a series of intermediaries, people who knew people who knew people. It said, "Your father wants you to know he forgives you. If you renounce Christianity and return to Islam, you can come home. The family will accept you back. All will be forgotten." I cried when I read it. Not because I was tempted, I wasn't. But because I realized my father still doesn't understand. There's nothing to forgive me for. I didn't betray him. I found the truth. And I can never go back to the lie. I sent a message back through the same channels. Tell my father I love him. Tell him I pray for him every day. Tell him that the Jesus I follow is real, and His offer of salvation is open to everyone, including him. Tell him I'm finally free. And I'm finally home. I don't know if he ever got that message. I don't know if he understood it. But I meant every word. Here's what I know, 3 years into this new life. Jesus is faithful. Every promise he made, he has kept. He said he would never leave me. He hasn't. Even in my darkest moments, even when I felt alone, he was there. He said he would provide for me. He has. I've never missed a meal. I've always had a place to sleep. Every need has been met, sometimes miraculously, sometimes through the generosity of his people. He said he would give me purpose. He has. Every time I tell my story and someone's eyes light up with hope, every time a Muslim woman asks me questions about Jesus, every time I get a message saying your video changed my life, I know I'm doing exactly what I was created to do. He said he would make all things new. He has. I'm not the same person I was in that compound. That scared, broken, hopeless girl? She's dead. I'm alive now. Truly alive. And one day, maybe soon, maybe not for years, I'll see him face to face again. Not in a vision. Not in a dream. But in person, in heaven, where there's no more tears, no more pain, no more fear. Where I'll finally be fully home. So let me end with this. If you're trapped, in a religion that feels empty, in a family that controls you, in a life that's suffocating you, there is a way out. His name is Jesus. He sees you. Right now. Right where you are. He knows your name. He knows your pain. He knows the secrets you've never told anyone. And he loves you. Desperately. Completely. Unconditionally. He's standing at the door of your heart, knocking. All you have to do is open it. Yes, it might cost you everything. It cost me everything. But I gained him. And he is worth it all. Don't wait. Don't put it off. Don't tell yourself you'll think about it later. Tomorrow might be too late. This moment, right now, might be your only chance. Jesus is calling your name. Will you answer? My name used to mean princess in Arabic. But that's not my identity anymore. Now I'm a daughter of the Most High God. A follower of Jesus Christ. A testimony of His grace, His power, His unfailing love. And if He did it for me, He can do it for anyone. He can do it for you. Come to Him. Today. Right now. He's waiting. And He will never, ever, let you go. If this testimony touched your heart, please share it. Someone in your life needs to hear this story. Someone is trapped and searching for hope. You might be the messenger God uses to set them free. For resources, prayer support, or to share your own story of encountering Jesus, reach out to your local church or Christian ministry. You are not alone. Jesus loves you. And so do I. May God bless you and keep you. May His face shine upon you. And may you know, truly know, that you are beloved. Amen.